Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RIP Sleep. You have Travis hanging out with you, and I have Robert with me, as always.
Howdy, folks.
And tonight, on this almost, no, on the first episode of the new year, we're going to be talking about a movie that came out last weekend. Uh, we are talking about the 2024 remake of Nosferatu.
Yeah. This is the. Let me just look at my notes here real quick. This is the fourth fourth movie, yes, brought to us by Robert Eggers, who some of you may have known for his directorial debut in 2015 of The Witch, 2019's The Lighthouse, or 2022's The Northman.
Yes. Uh, So this movie is, as I stated, it is a um, remake of the 1922 silent film Nosferatu of the same name. Uh, and I gotta say, we went and saw this movie in theaters with a couple of our friends the other day, and this movie was astonishing. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. The sound effects are masterful, and the line delivery by all of the characters are very good.
Yeah, no, this movie, it has taken and tied its place up. Like at the very end of the year, I thought throughout this most of the year, I thought my favorite horror movie that was released this year was gonna be In a Violent Nature, but this movie kind of swept right in and kind of tied place to that, along with Long Legs was another movie I really liked this year. But I think this movie kind of pushed back Long Legs to like second place, and now it's kind of tied between this movie and In a Violent Nature for my top favorite horror movie of 2024.
See, I almost completely agree with you on that. My top horror movie of 2024, still as it stands, is In a Violent Nature. That movie was so good. I definitely feel like you and I need to have an episode talking about that movie at some point. I know that we've discussed it before, but we definitely need to bring that one to the forefront. Um,
Most definitely.
I also really did enjoy Longlegs as well. The creepiness and eeriness of that movie was really well done. And then going and seeing this movie, it was so good. I definitely put it above Longlegs. I would put for the three movies named, I would put In a Violent Nature at one of my favorite movie for the year for horror. Then I'd put Nosferatu, and then I'd put Longlegs after it.
All right. That's very fair. That's very fair. I just this movie for both their own reasons for my favorite movie this year, they both were very brilliantly shot. Like in
Absolutely.
their own individual ways. This movie genuinely had probably some of the best cinematography out of more than just horror movies this year because it was there was so much variety with each shots. Almost every scene at least had something a little different and special about it. With at least all the big scenes in this movie were shot slightly differently with a shot selection.
Oh, absolutely. But even not just the big scenes. Even the smaller scenes that you only see like a setting for one, scene of it, or just a quick glimpse. There's so much attention to detail that went into this movie, and it was just astonishing to watch, and I 100% will pay to go see this again.
Absolutely. This movie is I am currently just waiting for when they announce the home release to get this movie in physical as soon as I possibly can.
I completely agree. Um
Um,
so
but
for
I just want to
Go ahead.
like I just want to say like if you are a big fan of a camera that makes the camera and shots themselves are almost a character's perspective of a film, this movie drives that forward handfuls.
Absolutely, it does. So, for those who are not aware of the story of Nosferatu, um, it's basically like Nosferatu is named like the original one from 1922 is named of the original vampire horror movie. Uh, I would,
Yes.
because it's right there with Dracula. Um,
Yes. Well, the a good fun fact about this is that the original 1922 film was inspired by Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. Um, and when this film was initially released, uh, Bram Stoker's estate sued the creators of the original Nosferatu, which basically caused the majority of the copies of this film out there in the world, which this film was the original movie was made in Germany, were basically destroyed, except for a very few amount.
yeah. But even like now being in the age of digital media and being able to find pretty much anything online, uh, there you can find the original Nosferatu from 1922. You can find it on YouTube
Oh yes,
because
after
it's just been re-released on everything.
yes, after Bram Stoker's widow died, essentially the movie got preserved,
Yeah,
and very luckily so. The original movie is a horror staple and a lot of movies, and the idea of most vampires wouldn't exist without it.
absolutely. So this cast for the 2024, I gotta say this cast is stacked as hell. Like
Most
there is a
definitely.
very good cast for this. We have our two main characters, Ellen Hutter and Thomas Hutter, played by Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult. Uh,
Yes.
Lily
For
Rose
those
Depp is most known for Tusk, The King, um, and a
yoga
few other things.
hosers.
Yoga Hosers. She was in Voyagers and a bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
Uh,
And the name does sound familiar because she is the daughter of Johnny Depp and
yes,
Vanessa Paradise.
yes, and she does an amazing job in this movie. It is an astonishing film.
Yeah. I would
Uh,
say that this is probably her this is her breakout role because before this, she kind of played some smaller characters and stuff on things like, in Tusk from 2014, the Kevin Smith film. She was just her literal title in that movie. Or credit is like girl clerk number 2 or something like that.
yeah,
And then she got a main role in the third movie in that Kevin Smith horror trilogy, which was Yoga Hosers, the one about evil undead Nazi bratwursts.
yup,
But and that so she's been definitely involved around in acting for quite a while because of her father.
absolutely. And like she really did. She did an amazing job in this movie. She portrays uh Ellen Hutter in such an amazing way cuz she is, the girl that is pretty much contractually connected to Count Orlok, uh, or Nosferatu, that kind of stuff. That is like she is contractually like connected to him, which makes like this really like these crazy things happen to her, and the way that she portrays them, during the uh, little teaser or little spoiler. But I believe that it was in the trailer. The possession scenes that happen with her. Uh,
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff here too. Robert Edgar did a lot of research into like hysteria for to kind of pin down what some of the stuff is like. I'm not sure how accurate it is. I do have to do my own reading into that to see how accurate it is. But he there has been multiple interviews where he has quoted that he did a lot of research to kind of go into like the treatments of hysteria, especially in the time frame this movie takes place.
yeah,
And specifically with one scene of the doctor quite literally just giving opioids
and giving
via rag.
opioids and yeah, literally chloroforming her.
Yeah.
It's so good. By the way, a spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen it yet. Guaranteed, this movie has not even been out for a week. But we saw it, and as we finished the movie, we were like, "This is what we're doing this episode on." There was no way that we weren't.
Yeah. Uh,
So our next person for big person in the cast is Thomas Hutter, played by Nicholas Hoult. He is best known for About a Boy from 2002, Warm Bodies from 2013, as well as the prequel X-Men movies where he plays
yes.
Hank or the Beast.
Yes, he does that. And I like to say that's kind of funny that within about 2 years worth of time, this is the second vampire movie he's done
Yes,
because
that was
he played in Renfield with Nicolas Cage.
Yes, and that was actually something that I wanted to bring up was the fact that he played like Dracula's assistant in the movie Renfield, and then literally a year later, Nosferatu was released of him playing the husband of the woman that is connected to the vampire in the movie.
Yeah.
He did an amazing job in this as well. The shots that dealt with him like kind of slowly losing his mind
Yeah.
were such amazingly done. Like in my personal opinion, I would like market them as like schizophrenic shots because
They are most they are mostly definitely like that. But there was a line that he says, I believe it was when he was at um the nunnery or the church or whatever it was after a specific event, where he says that he feels like he's awake but in a dream. And that is
yes.
a very very accurate description of how you feel about the scenes when he is meeting Count Orlok for the first time.
Yes. Absolutely. And like I love that, obviously going in, knowing what Nosferatu is, and knowing that, this is a vampire movie, like it's pretty clear, um, from knowing what Nosferatu is. Like just looking at the movie poster, I don't know if you could immediately connect it to a vampire.
If someone who didn't know what Nosferatu is a vampire, and they went in it blind without any research, they could probably draw some conclusions because this movie definitely went the more original route for being a vampire rules. It has to be specifically sunlight or silver, pure silver stake through the heart, not a wooden stake,
Yep.
to kill them. And not only does not they don't drink from the neck to get blood, but they specifically get it directly from the heart by biting through like the chest.
Yep. And I just for the main two people in this cast, Ellen and Thomas, they both do such like Nicholas Hoult and Lily Rose Depp. They both did such a great job of like at the beginning, once like you see them, they're like the classic newlywed couple that's like all happy and giddy about getting married and whatever, and then just watching their entire relationship fall apart and crumble because he's trying to do something that she doesn't want him to do because he wants to make a better life for her.
Yeah.
And then everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong.
Yeah. Um but it not to his not to his most choice, he kind of got duped into it, kind of not forced to go to Transylvania.
That is true. It was kind of the rat lord himself that duped him into it.
I forget what was his actual name of this movie? I think it was
Uh,
like, yeah,
his actual name was
Knock.
Knock, but
Yeah.
Knock was played by Simon McBurney. Um, honestly, best character in the movie. It was he is such an amazing comic relief, and it's not intended to be. Like,
Yeah,
he's just
and
like this weird fucking guy that's basically like, I serve the vampire dude.
yeah, he's not the estranged, but the very hysteric occult individual in this movie. At least after the first time we see him. The first time we see him, he's kind of like he's held together, and then another scene later, he's butt ass naked and doing some chants.
Yeah.
So, it,
But you know,
oh,
I'm still upset that I had to run to the bathroom during the movie and missed what would have been the part that I cheered for when he bit the head off a pigeon.
man, a pigeon never done anything to you.
I don't like birds. We have gone over this so many times.
I know, but what the pigeon do?
It's a
The
bird.
pigeons are the dumbest bird out there. They won't harm you.
It's a rat with wings.
Essentially, that's why it's so dumb.
I hate it. But so
And for those who,
Nosferatu.
oh, I was gonna say, for those out there who aren't sure who Simon McBurney is, he played in The Conjuring 2, as Maurice Gross, I believe is how you pronounce the last name of that character.
Yes, I believe that is how you would say that. He was also in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, as well as The Last King of Scotland, and Jane Eyre, maybe.
I only recognized him from The Conjuring 2.
I recognize him from The Last King of Scotland, and I don't know how I recognize him from that. But anyways, so Nosferatu is like we said, it's a remake of a classic vampire movie. So it's a gothic tale. A lot of gothic imagery. Big dark castles and a lot of scenes that if you just look at them briefly, they look black and white, but they're not. It's just the way that they're shot so that there's so little lighting that's put into it, so it comes off as black and white. And I
Yes,
really like that because it was gorgeous.
yes, and it's definitely one of those things that's used very heavy for a character's presence in the film. Because, like I said, spoilers. Every time Count Orlok is on screen, it's almost as if he's this bringer of plague. He is quite literally sucking the life out of every aspect of a scene. So anytime he's around, he's bringing death up. He's bringing death with him.
Yes. So it just kind of like sucks all the life, the color out of everything. And it's
Yes.
such a really the imagery for it is absolutely gorgeous. But speaking of
Eh,
Count Orlok, the makeup and prosthetics and whatever else that they put on this man, I didn't realize that it was Bill Skarsgård.
yes.
Like I'm not surprised. I mean, the man has pretty much like put his foot into horror and stayed there. Like that is where he belongs. Uh,
Yes. And I can just say this movie has made me regain my faith in him because the atrocity that he was in the last movie I saw him in that came out this year, which was the shitty remake of The Crow, I have regained faith back in Skarsgård after that.
I still have not seen the remake of The Crow. But from everything that you have told me, I shouldn't watch it.
Watch it
But
and have your own opinion, but
for
I'm willing to stab a bitch over it.
oh my god. So for anybody that's been living under a rock for the past 10 years, Bill Skarsgård, best known for his role as Pennywise in the remake of the It movies, as well as the movie Barbarian that came out in 2022. That's another movie that I have been told that I really need to watch, but I just haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet. Maybe I'll watch
Yes.
that tonight. Um, but uh this man, like, every time that I've seen him in a role, I just always adore it. He plays the creepy guy so well the killer in whatever movie that he's played in, that he is the killer in. He does it such a great way.
Yes.
And
He's
like,
also one of the few actors I can think of out there in the world that's willing to put up with extensive amount of time inside of makeup chairs. Because when I was looking it up, it was like 6 hour sessions to put on the Orlok makeup.
honestly, I could see that, because like it's a lot. And yeah, he really is one of the only actors that I can think of that will like sit down and just like deal with putting on all that makeup. I mean, look at all the makeup he had on for Pennywise.
And he also does a lot of work for these roles that he does too. Specifically in this one, he worked with an Icelandic opera singer. I am not going to try to pronounce this singer's name. Um, but he did it to lower his vocal range for the character, and and you could, that's another reason why you probably couldn't tell, because when he speaks in this movie, it is deep.
Oh yeah, his like yeah, I didn't recognize his voice. If I just heard Bill Skarsgård talking in his regular voice, I'd recognize him immediately. I've watched enough movies that he is in that I notice his voice pretty quickly. But like, his voice was so deep, I really did not realize that it was Bill Skarsgård. And I was trying so hard. I was like, who the hell is this? Like, he's doing a great job in this. I really want to know who this is. And so, I figured that I would look it up once I got home. And I did, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Bill Skarsgård. That's fucking insane."
Yeah, no, he like, the man is one of the best monster actors.
Oh, 100%. He does such an amazing job with it. Uh so then we have our oh god. We have our next leading male, that is Frederick Harding, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Johnson.
Jesus, I can't talk today.
Those might recognize his name from playing Dave uh, Lazaweski. Lazaweski. I can't remember how that's pronounced, but he or Kick-Ass from Kick-Ass 1 and 2. And I bet this man is happy for ending the year off in this film, because he also recently played Craven
And
for
from
the Craven the Hunter movie.
everything that I've been seeing is that it is not that great.
I still have to watch it, so I can't say if anything's on his end.
Yeah,
The
I
trailers seem pretty. The trailers made him seem pretty cool and good at the role. Just
yeah, I'm still gonna watch the movie because I also still need to watch it. But
uh,
from what I've seen, critic ratings of it and audience reviews, it's not his best role that he's been in.
yeah. Or some might also recognize him from Bullet Train, which came out in 2022,
22,
23. He
2022.
played Tangerine in that movie. I believe that was
Yes.
his character's code name in it.
Yep, his character's code name was Tangerine. That was another one that I actually really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Bullet Train.
Oh, that movie's really good.
But so his character was another character in this movie that I really appreciated. I gotta say, from every Aaron Taylor Johnson roles that I've seen him in, he always delivers his lines very well and with a lot of like meaning and oomph to them. So I always really appreciate seeing him in roles. And this one, he delivered exactly what I thought he would. He played the aristocratic, shipyard owner really well, and came off as the I'm trying to, you know, give into you guys and try to see what you guys are saying, but at the same time, you're all fucking insane.
Yeah, he was quite genuinely. I have a family to care about, and in the end, not much of a family left at a point.
Yeah. Not much of one left? Much? Is much the right word?
You're not wrong, but like, in the end, he ended up with him.
Yeah, that is true. But I did really like his character. I liked his character's design. The he just looking at his character's design, he looks like this snooty asshole of like rich people. With the mustache and the soul patch, and then the mutton chops, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's a good thing about this movie is that all the human characters, except for one exception, none of them are like bad people. They just each have their own priorities, and in this case, uh, Frederick's priority was his family. He wanted to make sure his family was safe and protected. And there was a point when he started seeing Ellen's character as, kind of a threat to his family's safety.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. The way that every single one of the human characters, as you said, that are portrayed in this movie, they do such a great job of delivering their lines and holding true to what they believe in, because that's like their main drive, their motivation is to be there for the people that they care about the most, and get through with their uh motives for it.
Yeah.
And Fredericks was a really fair motive, honestly. He wanted to protect his wife and his children. I don't blame him. I don't have kids, obviously. Uh but he, you need to take care of your family, and that's understandable.
Yeah. So it was just all around him trying to be a good person for his family. And although it may not come off as that great when we know that a character like Ellen is quite literally haunted by uh the embodiment of evil.
Yeah.
But to him it's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. These things don't exist. You're crazy.
Yeah, literally. You know,
And now my
I'm
wife is infected. The fuck?
yeah, yeah, like I said, like I'm fully on board with everything that he did in the movie up to a certain point. And I believe that
Oh,
you know what I mean by up to a certain point. And
yeah, no, when he
let's
meets his end,
we cannot talk about that.
we can't, but when he meets
the
his end, it is
it's sad, but also
he couldn't resist
really
his
messed
wife,
up.
like he
Hey,
said.
hey, whoa. This episode will get taken down so fast.
I'm not saying what the act he did, but that those who watch it will understand.
Yeah. If you watch when you watch it, you'll understand what we mean by it. Um
Uh,
then we have our man, our savior. You want to try to say his character's name?
Professor Alban Edhard von Franz,
Yep, that
played
one.
by the one, the only, and doing his second movie with Robert Edgar, William Dafoe.
Yes. God, I love
Those are
Willem Dafoe. He's one
most of
of
you
my
would know him.
favorite actors.
Oh yes, most definitely. Uh, Him and another person are actually tied in this film for probably the most experienced actors. Um, they both have a total of 159 current credits as an actor to their name.
Who does he tie up with?
Well, he ties up with Ralph Inson. Inson.
Oh, yes, the guy that plays the doctor.
Yes, but those who most likely know Willem Dafoe, he was most popular to people around our age as playing Norman Osborn or the Green Goblin from Spider-Man from 2002, the
The
Sam Raimi
the
film.
Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Yes. And when I said that this movie is his second, the first Robert Edgar film he did was The Lighthouse from 2019.
Yes, where he played Thomas Wake.
Yes. Um, but this man is. You look at this man and you feel like he is crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I loved his character. His
He,
character was so fucking good.
he is the definition of chaotic, but can go on both ends of that spectrum of being good, neutral, or evil.
Oh, I just put him at straight chaotic neutral. Cause like sometimes he's like, oh well, I'm doing this for the benefit of other people, but then other times he's like, let's burn everybody, get rid of everything. Like when he was in the last scene that we see him in the movie, I won't spoil it, but Robert, you know what I'm talking about. The last scene that we see him in the movie, I gotta say, when he turned and there's fire around him and he's smiling, all I could see was Green Goblin. Like I saw him and I was like, "Oh my god, the Green Goblin is in the fucking 1800s in Germany."
All I'm saying about this movie is it's one of my favorite lines comes before before we see him on screen, and is when Dr. Sivers, I think that's how you pronounce the character's name.
Yes.
And Frederick were talking, and he mentioned him being Swiss.
Oh my
and
god.
Frederick's like, the Swiss?
Yeah, I will say, with this movie taking place, I think it's like 1857.
It's somewhere. It takes place in Germany, and one of my cons that I'll get to about this movie is kind of an interesting thing about that.
But like it takes place in like the 1800s, and Germany, some German people back then were not the biggest fan of Swiss people. So holding in the fact that Dr. Sivers mentions that the professor is Swiss, and Frederick is just like, he's Swiss. I agree. It's one of the best fucking lines in the entire movie.
Oh, so we're a little off. The year the movie takes place is the winter of 1880 or 1838.
1838. Okay, so I was only a couple years or late.
Yeah, and I think it's pronounced Visburg.
Yes.
Visburg, Germany is the setting of this movie. It's the main setting. We do get another setting, which was, like I said before, when one of the characters, Thomas, sets off to the Transylvanian Carpathian Mountains.
I believe that is what they are. It's not specifically stated that it is Transylvania, but it's very heavily pointed at that it is. Because I do remember that when at the beginning of the movie, right before he sets off, when the guy is informing him about setting off, he makes a comment about like the area, and he's just pointing to it on a map. But the map isn't labeled, and they don't say exactly where he is going. He just says to a distant part of the land or region.
Yes. Yeah. They gave actual names for it, but it was also hard to hear sometimes because I did have a couple people talking behind me.
Yeah,
in this theater.
Me as well, and I know I have a gripe. This is a stupid gripe, and I don't even think that this person will ever hear it. But you, dude, that was sitting behind me in Nosferatu, stop kicking the fucking chair. My God, you are an adult. Knock it the fuck off.
People, all I have to say to most of you out there in the world is relearn theater etiquette. Most of us are there because we enjoy the theater experience. I guess there's a lot of people out there that don't, but we want to enjoy the feeling of watching a movie. So it's okay if you're whispering to the person next to you to make a comment about the film.
Yeah, Robert and I would be lying if we haven't done that. We've sat we didn't sit next to each other during Nosferatu because we had two friends that were with us that sat in between us. I like to think that they sat between us because they were gonna get scared and they needed you and I to protect them.
No, they both had the popcorn buckets. That's why they were sitting.
I had the popcorn bucket. But no. But like, Robert and I have whispered to each other during movies. Both of us went to school for film. In our own capacity. Robert went for more video, I went for more audio and acting. So we make comments during movies, but it's not that hard to whisper. You
Yeah.
don't
Just
have
like
to talk fucking at your full volume.
yeah. And it's not that they were talking their full volume. It's just that, they weren't making the attempt to keep it between the two of them in the theater, the people behind me. So now, like, just get up, you can whisper to the person, get closer to them and like say things, If you're sitting next to that person, you're probably friends, I would hope. You'd
Yeah,
probably enjoy being each other's company, unless you're just there to watch a movie because you just don't want to hear them talk. But then why the fuck are you talking during the movie?
literally.
But yeah, it's just basic theater etiquette. Also, to the people that clap uncontrollably, and I know that took over with the Marvel series, can we just stop that trend? I hate it. I want to watch the movie. Just stop clapping when events are happening. Save the clapping towards the end.
Like I will say I do agree with you on that. Save the clapping for the end. If something big happens, then yeah, if you're like or gasp or some shit, we understand it. We do the same thing. We went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters. We gasped when we saw Tobey Maguire uh and Andrew Garfield.
Yes.
Like we did
Also,
it too, but like we didn't like start screaming and chanting in the fucking theater.
also, when you go to a movie that is a musical, only sing along with it if you've been to it before, if it's the sing along version. There's specific tickets and showings for the sing along versions of these movies.
That you know
Some
what?
people are there watching that movie for the first time. I want to hear the people on the screen singing, not your fucking car radio ass doing it.
As somebody that is a big fan of theater and musicals, I agree with Robert. Please, if you want to sing along, go to the sing along versions. They exist for a reason. Please sing along to the soundtrack in your car. I don't care. If you're in the theater, shut the fuck up.
All right. That will conclude my theater etiquette rant for today. I'll get to more issues later down the road.
Yeah, we'll have our next theater rant when we have our next movie that we talk about that just came out in theaters. Which honestly, I think that the next one that we might talk about that just comes out in theaters is probably going to be Monkey, because that one
That or
comes out in February.
that or there's the Valentine that comes out here, I think.
Oh,
Is that
you're
coming out in
right.
January? Because that's from Radio Silence. So the guys who did Scream 5 and 6.
That is true.
But back to this movie. I forgot where we left off.
Yeah, we just had a full ass rant. Oh, we were talking about the Swiss. Jesus, wait, hold on. We were talking about the Swiss line. The Swiss line.
But no, we were talking. We can introduce our next character, which we kind of did because it was Doctor Wilhelm Sivers.
Yes. I believe that it was pronounced Sievers or Sivers or Sievers.
I'm gonna call him Wilhelm because that's easier.
I'm gonna call him Doctor because he's the only one that has the Doctor title.
That's fair. But like we said before, he's played by Ralph Ineson. Again, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Ensign.
He's the most experienced with Robert Egger, as this is his third film that he's done with him. The first being 2015's The Witch, where he played William. The second time when he played in The Northman as Captain Volodymyr.
I haven't seen The Northman, so I'm not entirely sure, but I would guess Vladimir.
Yes, and this man has been around for a long time, such as William Dafoe. He's a very predominant character actor. He's in a lot of voice acting. Some of his voice has been used, I think, recently in Diablo 4. He did some voice acting for that game. But he was quite the interesting character in this movie. He was. Some people might say like, "Oh, the doctor wasn't a good guy because he's giving this woman in hysteria opioids and basically chloroforming her." But this is the 1830s.
It's accurate for the time period.
Advancements weren't that weren't that great at the time.
I mean, you got to think about it. Like at that time, and this is something that is also stated in the movie, which I will also bring up since you're bringing up the opioids. When they say that, like, one of their diagnoses was that she had too much blood in her body, and
Yes.
so they bled her.
Yes. And they refer to her nightmares in these episodes as her melancholy.
Yeah, it's the 1830s, like Robert said. The medical advances are not there yet. So
I'm pretty sure they were using chainsaws at that time as assisting in birth giving.
I mean, that's what chainsaws were initially created for,
Yeah.
which is a really fucked up fact that my brain holds on to for some reason.
Yeah. But
But
no, this he was a very I liked his character quite a bit in this movie, mostly because the specific scenery is like, all right, gotta give her more.
yeah, no, I also really liked his character. Uh he's another person that I notice him from other things. I noticed him from The Green Knight, as well as The First Omen, that came out this year. And he has a very notable face, and I know him from other stuff too, but I just can't think of what else I know him from. um
You definitely know him from The Witch because he played the
yes,
father. Well,
I do know him from The Witch, and I know that I know him from that because you and I watched The Witch together when it came out.
yes. Well, not when it came out to theaters. We watched that. We
We
rented
watched it
that
at
on a
Yeah, we watched it at my parents'
Redbox.
house.
We watched that off a Redbox,
Oh
and this
god,
review
remember
came.
when Redbox was a thing?
Listen, I'm just kind of upset that they were out of business quicker than I expected because they were selling those Blu-rays for real cheap.
Oh my god. um
But
But I
yeah,
really liked his character as well. He was another like unintentional comic relief, and it was more for the fact of like, oh, it's time for another dose of medicine, like you said with the chloroform.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was also like the straight man doctor compared to uh Professor Albin, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean
One
that's
of the
even stated that like the Doctor Sivers, he he follows medical practice, whereas Professor Elbin is kind of like outsided by like the medical community because of his obsession with the occult and like
yeah, no,
trying to understand all of it.
he got too obsessed and was ostracized.
Ostracized.
Yeah, from the Swiss school he taught at.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
so one other person that I feel like we should mention before we get into Knock, because I want to talk more about Knock's character.
yeah,
Uh and that is Emma Corrin, who played Anna, Frederick's wife. She also did a really good job. She is most known for her role as Cassandra Nova that in Deadpool and Wolverine that came out this year, as well as
yes,
the TV show The Crown, the
yeah,
movie later Lady Chatterley's Lover, and
yes,
My
but
Policeman.
yeah, because you did 8 episodes of The Crown where she played Princess Diana,
Diana.
didn't she?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this is probably her most breakout year as well. Out of the two main actresses in this film,
Oh,
because you know,
absolutely. Because I mean, she only started doing like full TV shows. She was in an episode of Grant Chester. I think that's how you pronounce the name of that. She was in one episode of it in 2019, and before that, she was in shorts. And then since then, she's kind of ramped up, doing littler roles here and there. And then this year, she got two fairly big supporting roles
one of
in
them wasn't even really
two
a supporting
huge.
role. She was the
Technic
main antagonist.
She was technically the main antagonist in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it would still be considered a supporting role because of when she is introduced uh into the movie.
Fair enough. I like to give a bit more credit to where it's deserved.
Oh, absolutely. I'm giving her the credit. She did an amazing job in Deadpool and Wolverine, and she did a great job in Nosferatu. And I definitely agree. This is like her breakout year. Um
Yeah. Um, so she played, and her character was Emma Corrin in this movie, which was the wife
no, Emma
of,
Corrin is her
or
name. She played
oh,
Anna
sorry,
Harding.
Anna Harding. Anna Harding was the wife of Frederick.
Frederick.
So you kind of gave me some details. She also seemed to be. They alluded to her being really good friends with uh Lily Rose's character Ellen. Um,
Yeah,
be,
almost from a one scene, I would say maybe they had a almost too close friendship.
they were just in laying in the same bed together. They were friends in that scene.
Yeah, but
And
there's some lines that are exchanged that could be taken as a slightly more than friends, in my personal opinion. But
fair enough. But this is also this is the 1830s. That's witchcraft.
that is true. But fucking Ellen is also possessed by a fucking demon. So
That's fair. Um, no, so yeah, then and also one thing I did like about that scene is the her kind of handing off the cross that she was holding almost felt like her giving away her protection because she kind of hasn't been faced with any hardships like to herself in this movie until that point.
yeah. Um but she also did an amazing job in that role. It being that like her role was very much a supporting role, but a very well done supporting role.
Oh yes, very well done.
So even though we already talked about him a little bit, I want to talk about Knock a little bit more because oh my god, his character was so good. Simon McBurney did such a great job of portraying this fucking insane man. Uh, and I just absolutely adored his character. He was funny as hell. I mean, like, obviously, there's some questionable scenes that happen with his character, but the fact that like the last time that we see him and he's just like, I was supposed to be the Lord of Rats. I will never forget that line.
Man, it's kind of upset that the first interaction. It's kind of upsetting we only got one interaction between his character and William Dafoe's because I felt like as soon as William Dafoe heard him start speaking, he was like, "I'm gonna kill this motherfucker."
Yeah, yeah, honestly, like as soon as you hear Knock like open his mouth and like start to have an actual conversation, yeah, he's fucking insane. Like he is completely batshit crazy, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that simple act of like it's again spoiler warnings. Man gets the vampire treatment from Albin out of nowhere. Kind of like steals the job away from Timothy or Thomas, not Timothy.
Well, yeah, but they were also intending to not kill him.
Yeah, no.
We've already talked about spoilers in this movie, so I feel like we're already past the
Yeah.
point of no return with that.
Yes. Yes. I feel like this movie. I feel like we can kind of go down into our our like things that we liked and things that we didn't like about this movie. We did a little bit. We already talked about a lot of things that we liked. Um, One thing I didn't get to touch on though was the set pieces in this movie because these set pieces are so much like older movies. They resemble like how they used to do like pink canvases to be the background of films and like make giant canvases for these scenes.
Yeah.
Um, I'm pretty sure when we see the carriage in another one too, when it's traveling off to Count Orlok's castle when they're in Transylvania, that was a miniature of some sort, I believe, or at least it was animated to look like a miniature because it was very crickety and it kind of felt like it was moving at a different frame, right, than what feels natural.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you on that. The scene that you're talking about, I have a picture of it pulled up. And honestly, I think that you might be right that it might be a miniature. Um I also think that this scene is actually a painted backdrop, like the
Yeah.
with the castle and everything, just because of the way that it looks almost as though it was painted.
Yeah, it those set pieces. I love the fact we haven't seen a movie relatively replicate those styles of backgrounds. It almost felt like some of these set pieces were if someone looked at a Tim Burton film and said, "Alrighty, but what if I add a little bit of American McGee to this?"
Yeah. And but it's God, the set pieces, you're right, they're so amazing for this movie. Um
Yeah.
like my favorite scene from this movie that like really shows the set piece, in my personal opinion, is probably the scene of the shadow stretching out over the town.
Yes, that
Be-
was a very nice shot.
oh my god, it's such a gorgeous shot of it. And like you can tell that um it's like a copy of like it's a miniature design um of the of like the town of Vesper.
Uh, it almost sounded like they were saying Pittsburgh, but they were doing it with like how like W's are
Pittsburgh.
pronounced in, yeah, like
Okay.
Visburg.
But so like you can tell that it's like a scale model of Pittsburgh, and then just with the shadow of Orlok's hand stretching out over it, and it's such a gorgeous shot.
Oh yeah, it was very nice looking, and
Absolutely.
I know you didn't like the second time they did the shot, but in the canal too, when the at first when Knock was riding on the boat through the canal, and then they did it again where it was Thomas, the doctor, and the professor going on
Yeah.
there. That was also another scene that looked really nice with it. When Thomas was kind of climbing through the mountains to get to the castle, the backdrop there with the rocks behind him also looked very like the painted canvas.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
completely agree. And it's not necessarily that I didn't like the the scene of them taking the boat uh
oh no,
to the
dude.
castle. I just had questions about it, which I'll get into in a second.
Yeah. Um uh the when they're in the town, the buildings aren't like all straight and like standing up straight. They're kind of like they're oddly shaped. Like they're like looks like they're almost like bent in some ways.
Yeah, they almost look warped.
Yeah. They looked very warped. And this movie for as many of the locations there are, I feel like even though the movie takes place mostly within the city of Wurzburg, it you only see interiors most of the time when they're there. The only time you see anything outside is relatively over in Transylvania
Yeah, that is
for
true. I mean,
for the majority of it.
yeah, we see like a little bit of the of outdoors in Pittsburgh in the beginning of the movie. And then after the arrival of Count Orlok, that's when we
Yeah,
see a little bit more, but even then it's not a ton that we see.
yeah, yeah. No, like and I kind of like it because when the plague is starting to ravage the streets, you know, we get to see Thomas being carried home by Ellen, and Ellen is like they're avoiding all the sick people on the streets, and there's not much room for them to do so.
Yeah. Um but overall, like this was a really great movie. But I want to like we got to get into we both have gripes with this movie. I know that we do. There's no way in hell that you don't. I know that. Uh so I say that we get into that for a minute.
So I'll let you take away the first gripe because I feel like I know you want to get it out.
I want to get it out. Okay, spoilers again. The Doctor, Thomas, and Professor Albin taking the boat to the castle where Orlok is. Got it. Orlok's not there. Let's go back to to Thomas's home and let's run there. Clearly, it was faster to take a boat. So why in the living fuck did you run? It is such a stupid thing that I am irritated about. But it, like, to me, if you're in a frantic state, like, obviously your brain is going to be like, I gotta run there, like, I gotta get there quick. But at the same time, if you are consciously aware of the fact that the boat is faster, you would take the boat.
That's fair. Yeah, I can agree and get where you come. That feels like it's less of a. It felt like it was less of a con with the movie and more just a con in the logic of the characters.
Yeah, and that's the biggest that's one of my gripes is just because
Yeah.
Thomas seems to be such a well put together character, but then he does that and it is so dumb.
Yeah. Honestly, my only thing I have to say I dislike about this movie because it was just really well done was uh the accents kind of don't match up with the location. We are in Germany, but everyone here, I get that there's a possibility of it being like, a bunch of other cultures are coming in one area, and maybe you don't want to have all of these actors putting on a German accent. But it just felt like this wasn't Germany, you
And
know?
no, I do know what you mean on that, and that's something that I wanted to touch on as well, because
Uh,
they really don't like the only one that like of the main characters that isn't Count Orlok that you can like tell that he is from Germany is the Doctor, in my opinion. Like he
yeah,
has that subtle German accent, like a subtle German accent, not that subtle German accent, but he has a subtle German accent, and you can tell that like okay, he's from Germany, he's just speaking English, so he has that accent. But
yeah. There's that, and I get that there's not a majority. You don't really need to see Thomas like traveling, but I was kind of expecting maybe to, we get to see him head off on the horse after he falls from the castle. After he probably gets like a day's worth of rest or something like that.
yeah,
But then we don't see him again until he reaches back to the city. So I guess that's another con that I have. Like, oh, he kind of falls right off the horse as soon as he reaches his home. So kind of a strong-willed character after having his blood sucked for like 2 nights straight.
yeah, that's something that I kind of wish that we got. Was like some like obviously we didn't need like some extensive freaking travel montage type shit for him making his way back to Pittsburgh, but why didn't we get any? My
I think
only
just
other thing that like I have a small gripe with, and it's more of like a confusion thing. And I feel like you might understand this. So, for him to get to where Count Orlok was when he first set off, he rode by horse until he met the gypsies, and then they stole all of his shit, and then he continued on by foot.
yes,
But then when they're
until
head
the carriage.
yes, until the carriage, and then when he heads back, he goes by horse to get back to Pittsburgh. What fucking sea was Count Orlok on to sail there? It's surrounded by
I don't,
mountains.
it was somehow probably faster to go by ship. than it was to travel by horse there. This is something I'm gonna have to go and rewatch the film and pause at the scene when Knox explaining to Thomas on where he's going,
Yeah.
because they pull up the full map there. But yeah, no, I see that gripe. Um, that kind of continues my gripes. There was I do want to talk about some what the fuck moments in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. By all means.
Two in specific, I won't go into full detail because we are not monetized, but some things might not be appropriate here. Uh, the scene where Thomas tries to kill Orlok for the first time. Uh, we we see a prosthetic, and I wasn't ready for it.
I was not either. It took me by surprise because I was not expecting that. And my God, did it make me chuckle because I just wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah, no, I it was, and I guess there's one way to assert your dominance in this situation, as if he hadn't already, but
Yeah.
there was that scene, and then the other scene that was a what the fuck moment was after Ellen and Thomas do get back to the apartment, the house. um they begin to get into an argument, uh because Count Orlok tricked, and this is something I had to look up because I was a little confused when Orlok was saying that he that Thomas sold out their marriage for gold, because people were talking behind me. The contract that Thomas signed that he thought was like the finishing the process of buying the house was actually divorce papers written in Orlok's native language.
Yeah.
Um, so Orlok and Thomas isn't made aware of this until that moment. So he's probably like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, and then it immediately goes into them having sex.
Yeah. After she says some choice words, after she rips her dress. Um,
You never pleased me the way he did.
yeah. That's something that would really get a man going, I guess. And
Apparent.
then
It's the 1830s, man.
that's fair. And then she immediately, not by her choice, I believe, but he gets the horniness scared out of him mid through this. So not even midway through this, he got scared shitless, and I could see why. Having someone's face, having blood pour out from both the eyes and mouth
Yeah,
must be quite a unpleasant experience while that deed is happening.
yeah, it must be quite a mood killer. You know,
Uh,
I feel like that would
to be
definitely be a mood killer.
Yeah, it was quite the thing. I never thought I would have to say "scared the horny out of him" as a line in my life, but it did.
I mean, yeah, those are
Uh,
definitely the two biggest what the fuck moments for me in this movie as well. I mean that, and like anytime, like it was something that I noticed, and it just ugh. Anytime that we would see Count Orlok drinking somebody's blood, I don't like the movements that he was doing.
uh,
Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah, the way he was kind of like, it was mostly in the torso, because
Yeah,
I
it
can't see them.
was.
I can't see the man skip leg day until the end, but um,
But
uh,
it's like the fact that he's like kind of like it kind of looks like he's humping, but not really, and it's just weird.
it's all in the upper body. It's as if he's like trying to suck out as much blood with each gulp.
Yeah, it's such a like seeing it like I don't know. It was just ugh. That was like the one part in this movie that I was like, oh, I don't like how he drinks blood.
Yeah,
Like not the fact that
but
there's a vampire that's drinking somebody's blood or causing plagues. I don't like how he's drinking it.
yeah, yeah. He may be trying to cuck your wife, but like,
He's gotta drink it better. Oh God.
Um, and also another thing I missed because the people were talking behind me was in the opening. I didn't catch it. I thought it was Ellen called out to anything out there for companionship, and it was Count Orlok that answered the call when she was in the like dream realm or whatever. That's
Yeah.
another thing I missed.
Yeah, when she was a
Um,
young child.
yeah,
And he
when she was
basically is like, well, she called out to me, so, like, obviously she wants to marry me!
damn, he got that. He really do have that Reddit neckbeard energy, doesn't he?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. My
Also,
God, they didn't have
uh,
cases to catch, but he would have caught one.
oh yeah, uh,
Or
um,
many.
Count Orlok's design is another thing I wanted to talk about too, because um, it is unique and different compared to the original, because they definitely leaned in heavier towards the inspiration of him looking like Vlad the Impaler,
Yeah.
specific down to the way he dressed and the mustache. That it was a thick stash.
Oh, yes, it was.
His
Uh,
skin may have been rotting, but the hair follicles on his lip were fucking living.
yeah, that was actually something like something else I wanted to point out because we were talking because you brought up his character design. He like they like seeing pictures of original Nosferatu again, and then seeing Bill Skarsgård's version. The fact that like the original version just very very pale, black, dressed in black, long fingernails, black bushy ass eyebrows. Then we get this version and he is like literally decaying.
Yeah. It's one of those things of the time, for somebody who's probably sitting down and watching a movie for like the third time in their life and they're seeing something that looks human but isn't supposed to be human. It's probably terrifying as all hell to them.
That is true.
And they're speaking German. That's even more horrifying.
Oh God. All right, Rob. Well, time for the forever questions of our little show that we have here.
Before
What's
we
your
get that,
rating?
I do have a couple ending thoughts to come off of this before we get into that.
Oh, by all
First thing,
means.
first things first. I'm not one that says something needs a sequel, and I'm not saying that this movie needs a sequel, but I really want to see some sort of media following Thomas after these events. Because not only did he lose his wife, he lost his who was his best friend, and now he has to live with the fact uh that his wife had to die to sacrifice to save him and everybody in this town.
See, I kind of like the idea of getting like some kind of media after this too. Uh like almost as if like so this movie honestly, like I know this is going to sound kind of like I feel like a little cliche, but seeing this like everything that happened with Thomas, I could see a very easy way to spin this into him becoming like a Van Helsing type character.
And exactly, because they showed a vampire hunter earlier in the film with the group of gypsies.
That is true.
I like, in all honesty, him as a character, I don't really see him like drowning his sorrow in like alcohol or something. He probably would still do it, but he'd be drunk and fighting a vampire.
Yeah, like I think that it would be an interesting like kind of step into of like showing us like what happened with Thomas afterwards and if he were to become some kind of Van Helsing type character like hunting monsters, vampires, that kind of stuff.
you know, and it would kind of be him taking the reluctant help of the doctor who tricked him, or not the doctor, but the professor who tricked him,
Yeah.
because the professor basically did his research and said that, well, her sacrifice and basically letting Orlok uh drink her blood and do the deed um to keep him basically up until the sun rose was kind of a necessity, or else the plague would have just continued and ravished the entire land, and everyone she knows would have died. And,
Yeah.
she would also died. And this movie kind of did this very nice thing of like the maiden and death, because in the end, when we see Count Orlok shriveling up and dying, blood still pouring out of um, his mouth and out of his like eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, in an interview, uh, Robert Egger said that they did have the idea of having blood also pouring out of his butt, but they thought that was too comical.
Yeah, I would say that is a little too comical. But
And then Ellen lies there dead, kind of looking like a clean porcelain doll.
mhm. Honestly, like I do agree with you on that. I would really like to, like I said, I'd love to see a continuation of Thomas after this.
Yeah, it is something. It is just something that I think I would really like to see some sort of continuation of his character. It'd be cool if it's a movie. It'd be cool and great if it's a movie or a TV show. But I feel like Thomas got the worst. He got the downright bad ending.
Oh, absolutely. He got like the worst like survivor syndrome that he could possibly get. So one other thing that I want to bring up and then we can do the rating and whether we would survive. So the estimated budget for this movie was 50 million, and in just the past 5 days since it's been released, because it was officially released on Christmas, it has already made over 43 million worldwide.
Yeah, yeah, no, that
So
that makes sense.
I'm gonna guess that they're gonna make one hell of a profit off this movie.
I would hope so. But going back to the rating of this film, I am gonna give this is the first time I'm gonna do this. I'm giving this movie 10 floppy vampire penises out of 10.
Oh God! Of course you're gonna give it the floppy vampire penises, but I do have to sit there and stand with you on this pedestal. I'm also giving this 10 out of 10. This was an amazing movie.
It was really good.
It was
Uh,
absolutely astonishing.
and if you have not seen it, please plan to do so. Also, if you haven't seen it and you got this far into this podcast, you you idiot, you should have watched this movie first, because now I feel like we don't do it justice.
Yeah, but we're also saying this and we're going to release it when it hasn't even when it's been out for just a week.
Yes. This is for future Travis when he's editing. Please, please go watch this movie before you listen to this episode.
You're saying that to me like I haven't seen it.
You know what? See it again.
Well, okay, Rob. So we got our rating. What is your chance of surviving against Count Orlok?
Oh, I'm fucked.
Okay, I
Like
agree.
I'm not susceptible too easy. I think I get sick less than probably the average, but I'm probably catching that plague for some reason.
That's fair. More than likely, yeah, we're both fucked. But I do have one other. What do you think your odds are? Because technically there were two bad guys in this movie. What's your chance against the Rat Lord?
Um, as long as I keep my guard up, which I am gonna do it around a little weasel like him, I think I have like a 5 out of 10 chances of surviving against him. I feel like he's a scrappy little fellow, so he's gonna probably bite off a couple fingers or something, but I'll be able to get him in the end.
You know what? That is completely fair. Uh, I also feel like I'd have a good standing against him. Well, as Robert stated so kindly, I am going to, uh, reiterate: go see this movie. 100% highly recommend it. Of vampire films that came out this year, I put this above Abigail. You definitely need to go see this movie.
Yes. But I feel like with that, we need to bid you all adieu. Please safe travels outside the graveyard. As you may have noticed, we added a couple sarcophagus. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right.
Sarcophagi?
Sarcophagi. You might recognize those. Those are the new beds for us. Kind of a niche little thing to have. But you know what? It's all good. The lights are down now. Sorry you missed the last episode, but Krampus hates us, so
I feel like it is fitting that we weren't able to post something when we were talking about the shit of Christmas.
but yes. Please, safe travels. Come back next time. And don't be an asshole in movie theaters.
Agreed. Don't be an asshole. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.